All right, good day, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the information session, specifically welcoming all of those who messaged me and said you're going to look at the recording. You can't come on the live session for whatever reasons. So welcome everyone to the semester 2, 2026 Global Strategy and Leadership Information Session. I'll introduce myself first. I'm an entrepreneur. Name is Aalap Chhatrapati. I currently am servicing the hospitality industry, specifically in the Asia Pacific and Middle East region. My professional background, I've been a senior executive with the Australian government. I've led quite a few teams in various government departments in Australia for over 15 years, from the Australian Taxation Office to the AFP, Federal Police, and Australian Securities and Investment Commission. My role with the government was to make sure that we are designing and implementing strategies to achieve specific business outcomes within the government. Now, in relation to the GSL as a subject, I've been teaching GSL since 2015. So pretty much 11 years now. More than 2,000 students have come across. I've taught them. And if you follow basic tips, if you are thorough in your studies and just be regular in your studies, basic stuff, you will get credit and distinction. Pass is something that most people would get. However, it does get a bit complex, and I'm going to cover that a little later in today's session. Okay. Now, what is GSL? If a lot of people ask, well, it's global strategy and leadership, but what does it mean? And why is it the capstone subject of the program? Well, reason it is the capstone subject of the program is because it consolidates the learnings from ethics, FR, and SMA all into one. So it's kind of a mini MBA, if I may say that. Okay. Why do we need to do that? And why is it that the CPA Australia education body has decided CPA capstone subject would be GSL? Because our professions changed. Why? We no longer just do the books of accounts or compliances. Our role is to drive value for our clients or for the industry that we work in. And how are we going to drive value? How do we do that? That is what the subject teaches you. Okay. The reason our role has changed as an accountant is because if you see around us, the global business environment is fast changing, ever evolving, and quite uncertain. COVID-19 was a classic example of uncertainty. The recent war between the United States and Iran also is an example of how rapidly the world can change. Okay. And that's where we can play a key and crucial part. Let's look at the subject a little bit more in detail. Okay. So global strategy and leadership has got two aims. Okay. The primary aim, and I've divided the primary aim into two parts, is to provide you guys with an understanding of the concepts and the principles that underpin the practices of strategy and leadership in a globalized economy. So the subject's going to teach you how to be an effective leader and how to strategize in a globally connected economy, which is uncertain. Okay. And whatever theory and the concepts that you learn from the book, you should be able to apply them in real life business cases. Okay. And that's the second primary aim of the subject. The secondary aim of the subject is to consolidate the learnings that you already know from ethics, FR, and SMA. Okay. Now let's look a little bit more in depth on what the outcomes, learning outcomes of the subject are. What are you going to be tested upon in the exam? And we'll talk about the exam a little bit more in detail a little later. So we'll be able to understand the role of an accountant in all areas of strategy. We'll be able to use analytical tools to analyze the industry. Industry meaning everything outside the control of the organization. So the subject's going to teach you how to use various tools and models to analyze the industry and the market. measure the performance of the organization using various analytical tools. Okay, so that's what the subject also teaches you. Effective decision making from an organizational perspective. Okay, we are decision makers. The subject teaches you on how to be an effective decision maker. Explain and identify challenges when you're implementing strategy. You've got a very good strategy on paper, but when you start implementing it, the real life practical challenges come in. Subject teaches you on how to deal with them. And consolidate the learnings from strategy and leadership concepts and apply this in real world business scenarios. Okay, very interesting subject. Before we move in, let's look at the exam format. Very important. The reason why you guys are here is because we want to get good grades in the exam. So we spend some time looking at the exam format, likely exam format, because CPA may change things a little bit. And if they do, they will tell us. Okay, but this is the likely exam format you're going to encounter in October. Okay, so your exam's divided into 3 sections, A, B, and C. Section A has got 52 MCQs. Each MCQ is going to be 1 mark each. Section B has got 16 MCQs. Each MCQ is 1 mark, so 16 marks all up. But these are different MCQs. These MCQs are associated with short case study. You will get 4 short case studies. Each case study would have 4 questions. Okay, so 4 questions. 4 questions for each case study. 4 times 4 is 16. So 16 questions, 16 marks. Okay, the case study would be roughly about 3 to 4 paragraphs and 400 words, roughly. Section C is the extended response question. 12 marks. You'll be getting 3 questions. Okay, 3 questions, 12 marks, which means 4 marks for each question. The case study would be approximately 8 to 10 paragraphs or 2 pages, 800 words. Okay. Your exam total is 80 marks. Okay. You get 3 hours and 15 minutes to complete this exam. Okay. Now let's look at what the book is made up of. Your GSL study guide is made up of. It's made up of 7 different modules. Okay. And CPA has suggested certain recommendation on how much time you should spend understanding and practicing these modules. And it also has given weightage of each module in the exam. Very important. Okay, so we start off with the first module, which introduces us to strategy and leadership. 10% study time recommended because it's got 10% weightage in the exam. Second, understanding the external environment, which means the market and the industry. 15% weightage. Understanding internal environment, everything within the control of the organization, 15% weightage. Product, service, and market development. These are the options that the organization has in relation to its growth and its future, 15% weightage. Developing the strategy. How to develop strategy from your analysis and options, 15% weightage. When you develop the strategy, you have to implement it, 15% weightage. And last, leadership and strategy on emerging business models, 15% weightage. Okay? I always tell my students, do not underestimate the time it's going to take you to complete this subject. It's not simple. It's not easy. Okay? There's a lot of content. And as you can see, the book is approximately 600 pages. A lot of work. Okay? Now, let's look at why some students find this a lot more challenging than other students. Okay, and what are some of the common reasons why students fail in this subject? The reason I want to talk about this is because we are preparing for the exam. Okay, and there are only 2 alternatives. Either you pass or you fail. We need to understand why people fail so that we don't fall into that category. Okay, so most students who fail, they have not prepared, which means that they've not read the book properly. They've not understood the concepts properly. Okay, and hence they cannot apply these concepts in the exam. Poor time management. Students finish the exam before time, some of them, which is great, but they have rushed through. A lot of students do not even finish the exam within the 3 hours and 15 minutes. Poor time management. Okay. And failure to read the question. Students blurt out things that they want to write without understanding what the examiner has asked. And that's one of the common reasons why students fail. If you don't answer the question directly, which has been asked, you're not going to get any marks, are you? Okay. Now, if you look at the last semester, semester 1, 2026 exam report, 18.8% students fail. Roughly 19% students fail. Okay. This is where most of the students who study properly with guidance come in. Okay. And that's what you should aim at. Okay. Now, what can I do? How should I prepare for GSL? Now, that's something that I'm going to cover in the next part of the session. Okay. So, as you know, I offer personalized tuition for global strategy and leadership. What is inclusive of this? Well, provide a personalized study plan, making sure that you are on track of your studies throughout the semester. I provide simplified notes covering important GSL topics for all the modules. I provide an index in an Excel format, which you can customize to suit your own style. There are 17 live sessions, and as you can see here, divided into 9 weeks. Okay. All sessions are recorded for on-demand viewing, approximately 22 hours, which is minimum of live session time. Now, how this is broken up, 7 live sessions on Tuesdays. Okay. And then we have 1 exam prep, 2.5 hours in week 8. And in each week, we also have question and answer session, Q&A. Okay. All the way till week 9. Okay. I also provide practice questions and practice case study, which is generally provided in week 8. Once we have finished all the theory, we have gone through all the concepts, that's when we go through the exam preparation. Okay. Now, how do I teach? What is my approach? Very simple. I like things simple. And if you simplify things for yourself in GSL, it's easy. All right. 4-step approach. The first and the foremost is you need to be prepared before you come into the session. What it means is you need to pre-read from your study guide. Whatever we are going to look at on Tuesday, each week we look at one module. You need to finish reading before you come into the session. All right. So 15 hours approximately it takes to read the module from the book. It's not easy to do that because we have all got our work commitments, family commitments, and so forth, social commitments. But you need to find the time. How? By incorporating study in your lifestyle. You know, allocate a couple of hours every day in the morning. Okay. All right. Alter your lifestyle for 9 weeks. That's all you need to do. Okay. So pre-read before you come into the session. Maintain an index. The Excel version I'm going to provide you if you join me. Just maintain it as you go along. Practice everything from guided learning each week. Now it's going to be changing. I think it's called My Learning this semester. The CPA has changed it around a little bit. So practice everything that's available on My Learning and send me whatever queries you have beforehand by Friday so that we can look at this on Saturday. That's the personalized thing where I understand where you're making mistakes. I explain that to you. And then you take that feedback back, change your approach, change your understanding. That's the only way you would be able to conceptualize this. Now, what we're going to do in the next slide is I'm going to show you kind of a demonstration on my teaching style. So you kind of get a grasp on how I teach. Okay. So this is the sample note that covers the entire GSL study guide. Okay. This is module 1, where strategy and leadership concepts are introduced to us. Okay. Then we move on to module 2, which is understanding the external environment. I call it step 1 of the strategy, where what we're doing is we are understanding how to analyze the industry and the market. Okay, that's step 1. The book gives us some really good concepts and tools that we need to use in order to understand what the industry is and how the market is. Okay, so we look at that. This is step 2 of the strategy process, okay, which is covered in module 3. We look at internal environment, everything within the control of the organization. How is the organization performing? What the organization wishes to perform and what it is actually performing and what are the gaps. All those things we look at in module 2. After we look at module 1 and module 2, the combined knowledge that we have will take us to step 3 of the strategy process, which is where we look at various options the organization has in relation to its product or service and in relation to its market. What should the organization do? Okay. We explore these options. Okay. We look at risks of each option. Okay. Once we have looked at all of these things, then and only then we move on to step 4, which is developing the strategy on paper. So we draw up a strategic plan. What options do we need to implement? What is our vision? What is our mission? What are the very specific objectives that we need to achieve? In order to achieve those objectives, what are our options? We draw that up. Once we've drawn the strategy on paper, then obviously we need to implement it, which is where your step 5 of the strategy process comes in. We implement the strategy. We monitor the implementation. We navigate the challenges that we face in implementing the strategy. That is step 5. Okay. So as you can see, most of your study guide is interconnected. All the topics quite interlinked with each other. And then comes module 7, where we look at emerging business models. Okay. So that is your book in a nutshell. Looks simple because I've made it simple, but the complex topics are quite interconnected and it would need a lot of time for you to digest it. Hence, again, I want to repeat, do not underestimate the time it's going to take you to complete this subject. Okay. Now, some tips, very basic tips for success. Okay. Plan. Develop a study regime, a plan of action. Again, I'll help you build a personalized plan if you join me. Okay. What you need to do on a daily basis and your weekly milestones. Very, very clearly articulated. And you need to do this without fail. Okay. Set aside time to practice the material from my learning. Okay. Practice case analysis as well. Study a couple of hours a day, as I said. This will help you build the momentum and build confidence as you approach the exam. And for the exam, I got a lot of tips. If you join, I will share these simple tips on how to be successful in the exam. Now, I also provide a preview table, a table of instruction words. Now, what this means is specifically in section C, the extended response question, you would see some keywords in the question. For example, justify. The examiner might say justify something. What does the word mean? Justifying is where you provide facts and reasons to support your conclusion. Okay. So you need to provide a conclusion and you need to justify it with your analysis of the case facts. Okay. So there's a whole table that I've made with all the keywords that you might find in the section C type ERQ question. And each word has its own meaning. And that's what the examiner would look for in your answer. Okay. All the MCQs and ERQs will be based on learning objectives of each module from the study guide. Okay, you will need to be fully conversant with this. Okay, you will need to be able to use your index. Right, very important. Okay, I've got more tips and I will share that once you join me. ERQs need to be able to demonstrate that you have the knowledge, which means that you know the theory. You can apply the theory. You can answer the question. Whatever the question has been asked by the examiner, you need to answer that. So you need to demonstrate this in your written answer. Okay. Reread the question. So read the question twice to make sure that you understand what exactly the examiner is asking you. Okay. And I've got more tips on that too. Now, what we're going to do is look at some of the questions that were received from all of you whilst you filled out the form to join today's session. Okay. So I've kind of merged the questions together so that it's easier for me to answer, because most questions were kind of, doing the same thing or asking the similar thing. So I'll answer them all. Okay, how to prepare for GSL? Please give me some study tips. Okay, which is the most important or difficult module which requires most attention? How to prepare for the exam? How to study? What is the time that is required to study? Okay, now for the first core questions, start and do a little bit every day, as I said. Highlight important points from the book or write it in a notebook or a notepad as you go along. Prepare and maintain an index from day one. Okay. GSL topics are interconnected, as you saw earlier, and I explained that. Okay. So some students find a particular topic more difficult than the other students. So I cannot really say this is the most difficult topic or this is an easy topic. Everyone's different. Okay. The key here is to prepare for the subject in such a way that any question from any concept asked to you in the exam, you can answer it. Okay. Study guide is the most important resource. Make sure that you thoroughly look at it. Study guide, okay, and your notes, they're going to help you. Okay, if you decide to join my tutorials, I offer simplified notes, which are easy to follow. Okay, this will help you to conceptualize the topics. Make sure that you practice. So practice, 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 and more practice. I cannot emphasize on. My learning is your best friend. Okay, so practice everything. If you join me, I'll give you more practice questions and case studies as well. Okay. Now, time management is also a critical aspect of the exam, and this can only be achieved through practice. You only have 3 hours and 15 minutes to finish the exam. So, that's how it works. You need to allocate enough time to practice every week. 15 to 20 hours a week is all you need. Okay. GSL needs effort. All right. I'm not going to say it's easy. You will need to put in that effort. Question 5 is asking, do we have past exam pattern? Well, I think I've showed you the exam pattern, 3 sections, 52 MCQs in section A, 16 MCQs in section B, and 12 mark ERQ. We do not have past exam papers though. So if you're asking for that, I don't think CPA has provided that, and that's not available to anyone. Question 6 and 7, do you do practice questions or give us practice questions to do? Where do I get study materials, practice manual, GSL additional notes? Can you please make available the study material for MCQs? How do we prepare good notes for exams? Any BPP pass cards or revision kits that you share? Okay, if you decide to join my sessions, as I mentioned, I share simplified notes, okay, for all the important concepts and topics of GSL. This is shared in a PDF and you can print it out. Okay, every week you get a PDF and you print it out. It's as simple as that. I share an Excel version of index that you need to start maintaining from day one and customizing it to suit your own style. I share practice case study and practice MCQs. This is towards the end of the semester though. Okay. If you decide to make your own notes, make sure that you're covering important points for each topic based on your understanding. Okay. Now, I would not recommend any other study material like BPP and stuff like that. Only go with the CPA stuff. So my learning is the way to go, as I say. Other materials might have errors and stuff like that, which might cause more confusion. And I don't want that for you guys. So, I make sure my material is aligned both with the study guide and what CPA program is, but I cannot say that for the other providers. Okay. So use your own judgment. Okay, question 8, 9, and 10 are similar. How do I tackle the exam in terms of time, questions, whether case studies will be given in the study guide or KE practice, or whether practice questions provided by KE will be sufficient practice. Look, I don't think KE is associated with CPA Australia anymore from this semester. I think they've kind of gone different ways. CPA is doing their own thing. KE is an independent provider. But, you know, do things from my learning from CPA, whatever they provide, do that. It's an absolute paramount importance that you do that. Okay. Case study and other questions will definitely be different from the study guide. No point in asking the same question that you've already read. Practice questions from my learning by CPA Australia is good. That I think that is good enough. I provide additional questions, obviously, when you join me, so that would help you and give you additional practice to do as well. Okay. Question 11 to 14. Any good online tutorials? Me. Do I need to use the study guide of other modules? No. Only the study guide for GSL is what you need to use. Does the study guide cover all things in the exam? Yes, absolutely. Nothing outside of the study guide will ever be asked in the exam. And assume knowledge. There is a little bit assume knowledge from SMA and stuff like that, but if you've forgotten, don't worry. Things are covered in the book very well. Question 15 to 21, tips for preparation, time management strategy. Has the study guide changed from last semester? No, we're still in the third edition. I've heard topics, the choices in MCQs are similar. What do we do if you want to choose the right answer? Can I do GSL and FRM together? Exam tips. Okay. Simple. If you're going to be having an online proctored exam, ensure that you have good high-speed internet and good laptop. I think CPA provides, guidance on this closer to the exam. So make sure that you check the systems and all those things using their website and using the recommended settings. CPA generally releases more information towards the exam, so do that. Time management is crucial for the exam. As I said, you have 3 hours and 15 minutes, so you don't have unlimited time. My suggestion is practice enough so that you can answer one MCQ in a couple of minutes. That's probably how we should be aiming at. Question 17, despite studying well, I failed multiple times. Can you assist? Yes, I can assist. Please reach out to me. My contact details will be shared a little later on the slide. Email, WhatsApp, social media, whatever you want to use. I have assisted students by looking at their previous semester's feedback. And having a one-on-one interaction on how to, identify the shortcomings that you've had. So, I've done that and I do that. So reach out to me. Has the study guide changed from the last semester? No, it hasn't. Question 19, I've heard choices in MCQs are similar. Yes, professional exams are difficult and choices in MCQs are going to be looking pretty similar. Okay, practice and understanding the theory is all you have in your hand. So do that. GSL doesn't have any calculations, so it's about application of the theory. So you need to understand the theory first for you to be able to apply to the question. I think we covered the exam pattern earlier, but happy to go through it again if required. But in essence, you will be assessed from the learning objectives that we have seen. And each module has learning objectives in the beginning of the book. Can I do GSL and FRM together? Well, it's recommended. GSL is not mixed up with any other subject because of the time that it takes. But if, especially it becomes challenging if you're working full time or if you have young kids and stuff. But, reach out to me directly. I can gauge your circumstances and provide you with some tailored advice if you want. Exam tips. First, don't worry about the exam. Enjoy learning this subject. It's important. Okay. Enjoy learning and learn how to apply the learnings of the concept to the practical case facts given to you. Regular hard work throughout the semester is important. That's going to give you confidence towards the end of the exam. Okay. Now, some testimonials I want to show you because my students find me in my notes quite convincing and easy. So the testimonials, the words are representative of themselves. I take pride in what I do, and my students also, are grateful for the effort that I put in. So some of the kind words that students have put in for me, just for reference. And these are my contact details. Happy for you to reach out. Both are the WhatsApp numbers. You can reach out to me via email as well. That's my Instagram if you want to scan and connect on Instagram or Facebook, Soaring Scholars Academy. Okay, so follow me, reach out to me. My team and me, we do a good job in returning to your questions and addressing your queries pretty much straight away, or at least within the day. Okay. All right. On that note, thanks for coming in. And if you're going to listen to the recording, thanks for listening in. I look forward to helping you out. Reach out to me. Thank you very much. Study. Good luck with your exams.